Zico, are they being unethical?
Group 17's ethics assignment 2. My name is Emilios Knight.
Hello, my name is Joseph Fruin and I'm part of Group 17.
Hi, my name is Anmolda and I'm in group 17.
Yep.
My name is Filip Chuniecki and I'm part of Team 17.
Z Corp have been getting around regulations for Gilbane Town by increasing the output of discharge, which tricks the test into thinking that the toxic materials that they are releasing into the sewage are within the legal limits. A new test shows that they are exceeding the legal limits of toxic materials, but the test is not required by the city. However, the old test needs to be signed off by an engineer. The engineer that needs to sign off is David Jackson, who is a junior environmental engineer who is new to his job. He is scared of whistleblowing as he believes his predecessor was fired for his warnings about the amount of toxic materials entering the sewers of Gilbane.
Right, this is an ethical issue because on one hand, Zcorp doesn't seem to be breaching any rules that are currently in place. However, from their new test, they have access to their engineers and the boss of their company. They can see that they are in fact producing more toxic materials into the sewage than it would be safe. So it's a conflict between trying to maintain profit, maintain the good company opinion, and on the other hand, disclosing it and maybe risking getting fined for previous actions or being under scrutiny. And also, it's whether they want to risk breaking public trust with the government, as they are providing that company with the ability to put heavy metals in their sewage, which is then used by the farmers. And on the other hand, they provide back to the community as they provide jobs, and also they save a taxpayer's family on average $200 per month. And so technically they're not breaching any rules, but they have a moral duty whether to report that they're putting more toxic materials in. Is honesty and integrity, and the point of the original test for pollution was to decrease the amount of harmful materials within the sewage stream, and taking advantage of the system by putting out a higher volume of other substances along with heavy metals is not what it intended to, and it's not very honest or a very good integrity way of solving the situation. It's basically sort of getting around the way of the law and at the harm of the community and people who use the sewage.
3. Respect for life. Putting a toxic material in the sewage stream other than affecting people's livelihoods, as it would mean that they would not get any more tax benefits, as Gilbane would not be legally allowed to sell the fertiliser. It could also put people's lives at risk. For example, if the fertiliser was still being sold, it could put the farmers who administer the fertiliser to the crops at risk, and it could also put the wildlife on the farm at risk, such as insects, animals, and even livestock.
On accuracy and legal, the engineer cannot ignore data that is presented to him and must respond to them even if it means the loss of profit. Engineers have to respond strictly in order to minimize negative impact on the environment. Point for responsible leadership, take action and react to the new information to bring the company back to respectable level and do it honestly and do not hold anything back.
The ICME's professional code of conduct is also a list of guidelines in order to help engineers maintain their work ethics. And the first point, it says prevent avoidable danger to health and safety. and pumping out a lot of these heavy metals into the sewage can be very harmful to the fertilizer, which is one of the points. Also, prevent avoidable adverse impact on the environment. Putting out these heavy metals into the soil can also really harm the crops and any insects or birds feeding on different seeds.
As Al-Khami's fifth point on the Code of Conduct states, avoid where possible real or perceived conflict of interest. There is a real conflict of interest between Z Corp and the people, as Z Corp would much rather still stay using the old test and put high levels of pollution to the sewage, which could severely impact the people of Gilbane. This is because Gilbane gives them tax benefits from the Gilbane gold, which is made from the sewage. If the sewage is polluted, they cannot legally sell it to farmers, which means that they would lose their tax benefits and impact negatively on the people.
In the future, we will try to avoid issues and help resolve them in the most ethical way by following a 5-point code of conduct, which will help the majority. This is aimed at all engineers, however, we have tailored it specifically to Z Corp. The first point is being able to see a situation from a non-biased point of view. For example, if Z Corp disclose information about the pollutants being released, they may be incarcerated, which will likely lead to a negative impact on the company and may even lead to them being shut down. However, not doing anything in the situation will mean that the company will be exhibiting bad faith, as they know that they are over the limits of the amount of pollutants they're releasing, and many farmers' health may be at risk from the toxic pollutants. Being able to observe and react to a situation from an ethical, non-biased point of view will mean that will ultimately lead to the most ethical response in the situation. Point number 2 is having integrity. Z Corp need to be honest with the government of Gilbane and the engineers of Z Corp about the status of the issue. This means that the company would have to disclose accurate and relevant information about the amount of pollutants being released into the environment from the new test, and discussing from a non-biased point of view about what Z Corp should do on the matter. Point number 3 is to have knowledge and understand. Point number 3 is to understand and respect the cultural views. Point number 3 is to understand and respect the cultural values and beliefs of the community. Each community has different ideas of what is right and what is not. For example, in order for Gilbane Gold to be a sustainable source of income for the city and to help the townspeople, the amount of pollutants in their sludge must be under the guidelines. In order for Gilbane Gold to meet these guidelines, Z Corp must understand the importance of the sludge being clean. Therefore, they must lower, or they could lower their output in order to match the guidelines. Point number 4 is having confidentiality with the government of Gilbane and Z Corp, as to not undermine either side of the situation and providing accurate information. Releasing unauthorized information may lead to one side losing respect for the other side. Therefore, being able to keep the integrity will lead to a greater respect on both sides. Point number 5 is striving for the highest level of quality within a company and having the passion to do things in the correct and ethical way without cutting corners to achieve a goal in a shorter period of time. Therefore, you must do things in a way that should be done, in the way that they should be done to ensure quality, to ensure high quality. Completing tasks in this way will bring about a greater sense of accomplishment within the company and will help strive for greatness in the future.
To conclude, we believe that ethical and professional things for David would be to carry on using the old test as it is technically legal and advise supervisor to get his worker to get ahead his company and start using the new test as it is ethically thing to do by them. And in closing, look for other ways to tackle or get rid of the heavy metal pollution into the environment, reusing the waste, to avoid to avoid and lessen the pollution, and use the 3 R's to prevent the environment from pollution. Hi, it's Anmolder, and I'm in group 15. Now,